Okay, hello everybody. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Cessna 152. We have a 105 nautical mile flight from Mike Papa India, Mariposa, Yosemite, to Papa Victor Foxtrot, Placerville. Both of those are freeware airports by V Basilio. Check out the video details if you'd like to download them. Today's flight has a little bit of everything because there were some surprises in it, even for me, so you will have to watch to see what happens. Should be awesome, so let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. Alright, we're sitting here with the JP Logistics mod version of the C152, so we've got Monica as our co-pilot and both of the doors open to let in some air. So we'll start by verifying that our parking brake is set, all of our switches are off, our throttle is to idle, mixture is to idle cutoff, our trim is set to take off, we'll get the fuel shutoff to on. Next we'll go over here and close Monica's door, and we'll close my door. Open up the window and crack it open. Check that the prop area is clear. Head down here, we'll get the battery and master on. Check the fuel gauges, fuel gauge left and right. We've got a full tank, which is perfect for this flight. Mixture into full rich, carbide in. Feet on the brakes. We're going to prime it. 1, 2, 3. Clear prop. Keys are in the ignition, and turn it over. Alright, oil pressure. We do have oil pressure. RPMs are right at 1,000, so that's a good start. Next we'll head over to the mixture and lean it for ground operations. Head down here. We'll get our taxi light on while we're down here. Turn on the transponder to standby. Squawk code is still set to my last flight. We'll fix that in a minute. Let's get COM 1, COM 2 on. We don't have an ATIS here, so we'll just set the altimeter to field elevation and bring up for flight. I'll take you through the flight brief. So you can see we've got a whole bunch of weather. There's a convective sigmet right over our departure field. So that's the red rectangle there, and then you see we've got purple and orange rectangles. So if we click on those, you can see that we've got air mets for mountain obscuration and icing. So a whole bunch of weather. You can see the ceilings, which are in green, range from 4,500 up to 10,000. If we turn on radar and animate it, we can see the clouds and also some of the rain showers that are going on. So the clouds are moving kind of northeast here, which means we might be flying through some rain showers here, and we definitely want to avoid some of these heavier rain areas that are in yellow, like the one that's right west of the field here. So in real life, I would not do a cross country in this, but we're going to try it out in the simulator and see how it goes. So on departure, we're basically going to fly runway heading until we get to Bonanza Hills. Then we've got these nice reservoirs off to our left, which are the Modesto reservoirs. We've got Knights Perry, that'll be a good visual reference. As we head northwest, we're going to aim for Comanche Reservoir, which we can't miss. We've got another big reservoir over to our right, Ione. Then we'll continue north to Shingle Springs, turn east to Placerville, and arrive at the field. And as we were talking, the first surprise happened. VFR came online for Oakland Center, so let's dial them in.
900 Charlie, Oakland Center, Roger, cleared, destination. As filed, climb and maintain at 5,000, expect 9,000, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 132.2, squawk 6363.
Mariposa traffic, Cessna 565 Whiskey taxi from the ramp to runway 26, Mariposa. You'll notice my voice sounded different. That's because that's my in-game mic making my actual radio call on VFR Unicom of 122.8. And because we have a center controller, once we get up to altitude, I'm going to request flight following, so you get to hear me talk to VFR and pick up flight following along the way. While we taxi here, I'll tell you that I just love V Basilio's airports, and I find an excuse to fly out of them when he releases a new one, which is why I'm doing this flight out of Mariposa. Just look at this. The scenery is amazing, and it's free. Also, while I'm taxiing, I'll tell you about my joystick. Remember, it failed, and I was choosing a new one. The one that I chose is the Turtle Beach Velocity one, which you can see in the video here, and it's awesome. It's so compact compared to the one that I used to have, and it has a trim wheel built right in to the top of the joystick, which is awesome for general aviation flying. So I give it a thumbs up. Alright, we're coming up to the hold short lines here, so we'll stop at the hold short and we'll do a quick run up before departing. There we go. So we'll get the parking brake on. We'll check elevator up, elevator down, rudder left, rudder right, right aileron down, left aileron down. Get the mixture into full rich, bringing the RPMs up to 1700. We'll do the mag check. Very important, especially when you're running with a realism mod like the JP Logistics mod. Head down here and do mag left. And I notice I get the pulsing sound sometimes here with the JP Logistics mod when I do the mag check. It doesn't seem like anything's going to fail, and I only get it sometimes. I'm not quite sure why that is. I think if the engine sounded like that during a mag check, I might take it back to the ramp in real life, but we're going to fly with it and see what happens. Carb heat was in and out. We had the drop for carb heat, so that's all good. We can get our transponder set up and our lights. So we'll get our strobe lights on. Landing lights on. Mixtures into rich, carb heat's in. Transponder is to mode C. Mariposa traffic says Cessna 565 Whiskey, departing runway 26, will be doing a straight out departure, climbing to 4,500 Mariposa. Alright, it's a real treat having live ATC through VATSIM. They weren't online when I started, but sitting on the ramp I decided I'll just double check before we get going, and I saw them pop online. So we just made our radio call on Unicom of 122.8, and once we get up to altitude, we'll switch over to Oakland Center and try to pick up flight falling. As we roll out onto the runway here, I'm still getting used to my new Turtle Beach Velocity 1 flight stick, but it is awesome. I especially like the trim wheel, which I'm going to use here in a minute as we take off. Alright, we got full power. RPMs look good, but I do notice that the oil pressure is at the top of the green arc. So I'll probably abort takeoff here and check that out. But we're going to take off. It might be a JP Logistics mod glitch, or it might be trying to tell me something. I did just fill up the oil in the mod, so maybe I overfilled it, or maybe just the oil temp is too cold right now and it needs to warm up a bit. Alright, we've got a wall of clouds up there. They might be a problem for this flight. We do have some dicey weather, so we'll see how all of this pans out. It's also very windy and very bumpy, so I am really concentrating right now on keeping my wings level as we climb up to altitude. So we've switched off CTAF over to Oakland Center, and it's awesome hearing the comm chatter of all the other pilots on. Speaking of pilots, if you follow the channel, you'll know that I had to take a break from my flight lessons because I had some surgery, mild surgery. It wasn't a big deal, but I had to hit the pause button, and that's done, and I have my first lesson tomorrow. I'm kind of nervous. It's been like 4 months since I've flown, but I am really looking forward to it. As soon as we get a break in the action here, I will ask for flight following.
Alright, 310 and accept the local speed 99579.
Oakland Center, Cessna 565 Whiskey, VFR request.
Cessna 565 Whiskey, Oakland Center, go ahead.
Cessna 565 Whiskey is a C152 slant alpha. We'd like flight following, destination Placerville, Papa Victor Foxtrot at 4,500. Our location is 10 miles west of Mariposa, Mike Papa India.
November 565 Whiskey, Oakland Center, squawk 4530.
4530, Cessna 565 Whiskey. It's funny, I kind of flubbed that radio call a little. You may have noticed I was so busy telling him what I wanted to do that I didn't tell him where I was at the beginning of the call. And I realized that about halfway through speaking and just tried to smoothly tack it on to the end as if I meant to do that. It worked out. And I will tell you, by the way, when you talk to real ATC, it's very conversational, so if you mess up phraseology or you're not entirely sure what the phraseology is, you just talk to ATC, and they'll figure out what you're asking them.
79 heavy, wind 2307, runway 28 left, little wind.
So you could see those rain shafts up ahead there to the right, so we've got some cloud bursts going on. Although it looks fairly clear directly off of the right wing here. You can keep an eye on that.
For 565 with you, radar contact 30 East Modesto, 4500, retain VFR, the Modesto altimeter 2967.
Position checks, maintain VFR, Cessna 565 Whiskey.
For 517 Fox Alpha, Monterey Wind 2106, altimeter 2970.
Copy that, thanks. And Oakland 99 Charlie, I heard you just going offline, but we're ready, thanks.
99 Charlie, Unicom 22.8, sorry, have a good night.
Not a problem, over Unicom 122.8.
Number 565 Whiskey, and I just cut you up, but I'm going to be hopping over to Salt Lake Center for the event. You can go to Unicom 122.8, good night.
122.8, thanks. Cessna 565 Whiskey.
How can I let go? I can see the other side. They will never know all the wonders they'll see. You told me about all the wonders.
Okay guys, we could have predicted this with the weather brief, but we have a wall of clouds in front of us between where we are and where we want to go. So let's pull up for flight and do a diversion. So we've got Oakdale just a couple miles away from where we are. Oscar 27, so I think that works. We've got Modesto just southwest of it. That's a class Delta. And in real life, it's probably the better choice because they'll have rental cars and hotels and stuff like that, which Oakdale probably won't. But for this video, I think we're going to go to Oakdale because it'll be a little more challenging and interesting. So we're going to turn towards Oakdale and start to descend. And hey, do you see Oakdale? No, you don't, because it is buried underneath those rain clouds. And so is Modesto. So now we got a wall of clouds draped over Oakdale and Modesto. So south, back the direction that we came, where there weren't clouds, and you can see ceilings are at 10,000 at Castle, which is a class Delta. So that's looking pretty promising, and it is directly 90 degrees off of my my left wing. So we're just going to turn 90 degrees left and start heading towards Castle and divert to it. So we were descending here for Oakdale, but I'm going to level out at 3,500 and we'll switch over to Tower. Let's get them dialed in. So this is Castle Tower. Castle Tower, Cessna 565 Whiskey, 15 miles north at 3,500. Request full stop landing with information Foxtrot.
Cessna 565 Whiskey, Castle Tower. Castle altimeter 2970. Enter left base, runway 13.
Enter left base, runway 13, Cessna 565 Whiskey. For flight, of course, makes everything so much easier. So we've got a direct to Castle. It's already given me the ATIS frequency. And as we approach it, we can pull up the weather. We see few 8,000, broken 10,000, wind at 10 knots from 060. And it's already warning me that I've got the Glass Delta airspace up ahead of me, and we are descending. We're intercepting the left base for runway 13 here. And visibility stinks. Oh my gosh.
Cessna 565 Whiskey, wind 060 at 10, cleared to land runway 13.
Clear to land, runway 13, Cessna 565 Whiskey. And we're ready to turn final. And there we are. So we're a bit far. We're going to stay level here until we get the pappies in sight, because it's still really hard to see the runway. There we are. We've got 3 white, so we're a bit high, but lined up beautifully. Still running high at 4 white, so we're going to drop in that final notch of flaps. We've got the power out. Runway is made, keeping the nose down. And not terrible.
Cessna 565 Whiskey, contact ground on 133.575.
Over to ground on 133.575, Cessna 565 Whiskey. Castle ground, Cessna 565 Whiskey, clear, runway 13 at Delta, taxi to parking.
Cessna 565 Whiskey, Castle Ground, taxi to parking via Delta Alpha.
Taxi to parking via Delta Alpha, Cessna 565 Whiskey. Alright, we may as well park next to the pumps and get topped off on fuel while we're here. Not sure how long we'll be here until the weather sorts out, and perfect! The fuel popped up just where I wanted to be. So we'll get everything shut down here, and we'll go through the debrief. Alright, that was a lot of fun. I didn't expect to be on VATSIM, so that was a nice surprise, and I didn't know I was going to divert, although I kind of expected it based on the weather brief. So it was cool to get to practice a diversion and have to think on my feet a little bit. So I hope you enjoy realistic general aviation flying like this. If you do, be sure to click that like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, as always, for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.